Afternoon class. We'll be talking about SQL in this lesson, and these are the group members for group 7. So the objectives for this lesson is that by the end of this class, you should be able to use the SQL create statement to create a database and a table, and also to use the SQL insert into statement to insert data into a table. Now, from our previous discussion, we've talked about the components of a DBMS, and we mentioned that we have database access language. Now, SQL is a data access language, and it can be used to perform different operations like uh, querying data from a database, retrieving data, inserting records, updating records, deleting, creating databases, creating new tables, generally manipulating a database. Now, we use create statement to create a database and to create a table. Now, I've given the syntax for creating a database and also the syntax for creating a table. Now, you notice that when creating a table, you must always include the columns with the data types of the data to be stored in the columns. Now, I have a video that we are going to watch to see how this is done. The first thing that you need to do is to open XAMPP, the local web server. Open XAMPP, the local web server. Then start the Apache server and MySQL. Now log into PHP from the local host using a browser so that you are able to access the database. Now the database is MySQL, and the query is going to be running specific to the specific version of the SQL. So to create a database, remember from the syntax we're using create database and then the database name. In this case, the database name is ICT DBT. So once you have written the query, click on go to run the query. So that will create the database. Then to create a table, we use also the create statement, and the syntax is create table, and then the table name we are using diploma2 as the table name. So once you've written that, it will also include the columns. So in this case, we are having 3 columns. The first column is admission number, which is of data type integer. Separate all the columns by name by using a comma, and then you have name, which is a version, and lastly we have address. So address is also virtual. At this point, we are using a general data specific to separate those. Now, also be sure to include the size for the values within the columns. Once you've written that, run the query, and then you should be able to see the table. At this point, the table is still empty. So we are going to use the insert into statement to insert data into the table. Now remember I said that the tables, rather the commands specific. So in this case, DB query must be specific to InnoDB. So you always have to ensure you enclose in those quotation marks. So when you run, this data will be inserted into your table. You can see that we have a single entry into our table. So that is the way you're supposed to uh, run the commands from php my admin. So this is the end of the lesson today. Let's meet in our next class.